Good morning, and welcome to week 43 here in my Stitch Circle Show Challenge. And oh my, already week 43. And not before long, I'm a year older than when we started this challenge. It has gone so quick all this time here. But if you just have found me here on YouTube and you think, what is she talking about? I'm talking about a challenge, an ongoing challenge for this year with a simple set of Dogma Rules I give you every week, or I give myself every week. And below here, under the little word more, or in the description box, you can find the link to the playlist where you can find week 1, where I will explain everything what this challenge is about. There is a link for a way to sew a cover for have all your small samples in. It isn't absolutely a must to have a cover for or a book for doing this challenge, but if you want to see how I made this cover, look there. And there also is a link for a closed Facebook group, and if you want to participate, you can apply membership there, but don't apply if you don't want to be a member. But you can see here, it is getting so chunky here, my book. So I have 2 signatures in it, and I will remove this one. It will just be in its way here while I'm working. And this is where I left you last time with this curry black thing. So a page out here, and then I am ready for getting started. And of course, I want to introduce myself. I'm the host of this challenge here, and my name is Lisbeth, and I'm a Danish mixed media abstract artist who likes to do all sorts of things. So look at the playlist. I have divided most of my content up, so you can, if you're only interested in stitching, look for the playlist where the content is stitching, and if you're interested in jelly plating, look for the playlist with that, and so on. So it is much easier to look there than to go all through this. There is a lot of videos I have made here. Yeah, I think it is about 3 years ago I started this little Danish channel, as I call it. But now I will put this away, and then I will tell you what the rules are here for week 33, and show you the materials and show you how I will do it. So here we go. Rule number 1, use a background fabric in black or in a very dark color, the same color as you used in your previous or last week's challenge. And that is my black there, and that is the same fabric I have chosen here. It is a wool and viscose, and I really like this kind of fabric because I don't need to put anything under it to make it more sturdy. And when you put it down, it just lies flat, and I like that. So that is my background fabric. And for my circles, I need a piece of felt. This is just some craft or hobby felt I have bought in a local hobby or craft store, but I think you can get it in fabric stores or everywhere. And if you don't have felt, use perhaps the same kind of fabric as this one here, or a chunky fabric or of some kind. And again, I have used the same color, or nearly the same color as I showed you here. It's not quite the same, but I think it looks quite nice. So again, I have these 2 colors, and you can do that, or you can choose any color you like on a very dark background. So these are the 2 pieces of fabric you must have. And Rule number 2 is cut out as many smaller circles as you like. It could be this size, they can be a little bigger, they can be a little smaller. That is up to you. And place them random on your fabric around here. And sew them down with invisible basting. Sew them down so you can't see they are sewed down. And I think I would choose to do it like that, because you could also just trace your circles here on the fabric, and I have a template like this, but you can also go in your kitchen and find an egg cup or the end of a sewing spool or lids from things. There are many things you can use as templates, and this is the way I trace them. And then I cut them out. But you can of course also do the sewing, as I will tell you a little in a second here, that the third rule is how to sew in that, and then cut it out and then sew it on. I don't mind if you do it one way or the other way. There are these two options. Yeah. And rule number 3, sew only this stitch. And på dansk hedder de vævede hjul, eller cirkler med kastesting. And I think in English they are called whipped wheel, perhaps. But I will show you how you do it. You just do some overcast stitches over some peaks, or what is it called? Yeah, I will show you in a second. I have a small one here I have made with a very thick knitting yarn, because I thought it would look nice, and in fact it does, but I think it is too chunky even for my taste. But this is what we're going to do. And what kind of thread you will use for that is totally up to you. I have chosen this thread here because it is variegated and it is in the same color family, and you can see what I'm doing. If I was doing it only for myself, I would do it in black, because then I would have this black spider-likely thing sitting there. But I don't see you can do what I'm doing if I use black. But so I will go for this one. So this is the 4 rules, and of course I will write them here below under the video for you, so you can read them quietly, and that is perhaps better than me. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I know this stitch perhaps has another name, and please enlighten me. Tell me what it is called in English, because my English isn't the best, and I really always fight with these names of the stitches. Many of them I know, but once in a while there are stitches which names I don't know. I can of course try to Google it, but what do I Google when I don't know the name of it? So, but we will start. If you choose to cut the circles out and sew them down on the substrate first, it doesn't matter which pen or something you trace a circle with, because you can turn it around and then you can't see the lines. But there are different pencils you can use. This is one that disappears with an iron, I think. And there you can hardly see it here. It is a little difficult on the felt. So let me see, I have just an ordinary marker here, and that is sometimes the best. It is hard. It's not hard. It is difficult to trace a thin line here. So that is why it is easier to just cut it out and turn it upside down, then you can't see the leftovers of the traced line if there is that. And I just go around it here. And it isn't the easiest thing to cut a nice round circle out in felt, because they could be a little wonky and so, but there it is. And if there are places you think could need a little nursing, you can just go in with a smaller scissor and cut some of it off. And you can see all this black thing there, but turn it around and then you have a thing like that. And you can't see the trace line, because if you want a bigger piece to sew on, you would have the traced line here and sew there, and then you will somehow have to cut it off so you don't see the trace line. So I prefer this way here, but perhaps you have another pen or you are more neat than I am. And here I have my substrate here, and I can see I'm so far away. I hope you were able to see what I was doing before, but I'm going to cut several more outs here. So for the first one, I think I will just place it there so I can do this quickly again. Take this tin plate here, a smaller one here, and trace that. And I think it is easier to cut the circle with a big scissor and then nurse it than it is to cut with a very small scissor. But because when you cut with this scissor here, you go some tick, 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 tick in small ways, and it is bigger to take nice long cuttings. And don't remove your scissor, but remove your fabric instead. Then I think it gets neater in the circumference. I hope you really understand what I'm meaning here. There. That was the next one. And again, I can say, oh, it needs a little nursing. There. But I will cut some more out and place them. And you can place them whatever way you like. Here on your substrate. My substrate is about, I think it was 13.5 centimeters, but depending on which size of substrate you have, you must cut as many out as you think it looks nice. But I will cut them out and I can show you how I sew them. So I have played a little and made some addition, and I think I like my small dots to be sitting like this. That is the design I'm going for. So I will just quickly give them a little dot of glue stick, so I know they will sit there until I will sew them down with invisible bastings. And I just have been thinking about the word for these legs there on the stitch and what I was talking on before. And the word I was looking for was spokes, and not peaks or speaks or spikes or, yeah. Oh, all these words and all this English. You should try to speak Danish, some of you, and then you will figure out that it's not so easy for a Danish girl or older woman to keep track on the language, do the sewing, doing the technical stuff by filming, and then so that is a lot to take care of. But yeah, bear with me if I'm saying some rubbish sometime. But of course you can see what I'm doing, and that is perhaps the best thing of it. I will just let it sit there for a second. It isn't very nice to stitch in wet glue, but it isn't much we're going to stitch. So meanwhile, I've taken my machine sewing thread, the thinnest thread I have in my house, but because I don't want to see these stitches, and I have made a knot on the back side, and then I will just come up here in the fabric and go a little away, a little back. I can see in normally I will say go with a couple of threads backwards and come up again, but since this is felt, you can't say that here, so just go back a millimeter or so. So you really make them as small as you can, and the smaller you make them, the more invisible the basting will be. It isn't difficult, and don't pull too much in your thread, because then there would be a small indentation, and that doesn't look nice either. So it isn't difficult, it is just look out for what you're doing. You could of course have chosen to sew them down with the running stitches in black. Yeah, there are many other things you could have done, but right now it is just about sewing these circles down. It isn't a problem to stitch in this felt here. It is like stitching in butter. So and go about 3/4 of a centimeter, or 6 or 7, 8 millimeters ahead every time. That isn't so important. This is just so they won't be flopping down here. And I think I'm about to be all the way around, and then I just say there, turn it around and go a little into the fabric here, and made a knot, and then cut the thread off. That is all I'm doing. So I will also do this on all the other circles, and that would take a little time, but for you, sorry, it would just be a second, and then I will be back. Yeah, so now they are sitting there, and how lucky can one girl be? There was so much thread left over when I was done sewing them all on to the substrate here. So yeah, you can get lucky sometimes. And away with that needle up in my pincushion so it won't run away, and away with my glue stick. So this stitch here is, it's the stitch, but it is also, you can't call it weaving, but it's a kind of weaving anyhow. And I will start showing you on this one here in the middle. You have to make these spokes as I talked about, and you have to always, when you do it like this, have an even amount of spokes. And perhaps it is easier if I draw them here so you can see what I'm meaning here. And since it is a quite big, what is that? Quite big circle here, I think I will have 8 spokes here, so I can say that is the middle here, and then there could be one there and one there, one at 12 and one at 6 o'clock, and again one at 9 o'clock and one at 3 o'clock. And then it is to go in between here, there, and there. I won't do a long stitch and cross over them. I will go down in the middle here. And perhaps that is easier for you. It isn't so difficult when it is 8 spokes, but when you're doing 6 spokes, it can be a little more difficult to place them. So that can be nice to make the marks. So I will make the spokes here first. So I will make a knot here on my thread, and I have just inherited some different yarns from a friend of mine, and in fact it's Spargo, so Wonder Fill Threads Elegance Pearl Cotton number 5. Okay, so it is like a pearl cotton number 5, and it is a quite chunky thread. But you can use any kind of thicker threads, and if you don't have, you can also do them in thin threads, but then you perhaps would like several along more spokes than here. But that's another story. Use what you have. As I had said many times before, I don't expect you to rush out and buy a lot of stuff to do this challenge. That isn't the meaning of it. I don't go down in the exact same hole, but as good as I can, just to have a middle here. This is the 4 first spokes, and I can see this one get a little longer than the rest of them, and I want them to be quite even, so I will just quickly pick it up. Perhaps it wouldn't have mattered, but for the sake of it now, I just pick it up and go down here in the middle, and that was better. And then I will make the other 4 spokes. Whoops, and don't go around there. It's like making a star, you can say. But if it, for instance, should have been an eyelet stitch, I would have to go down in the same hole. But I'm not going exactly same in the same hole here. There. I think that looks fine. So now here you come up under one of the threads here, close inside to the middle. You go from the middle and out there, and you do the same every time. You can see the thread is on the left of this spoke. Now I take the other end of my needle, and then I go over the one I come up in front of, under it and under the next. there. And now you can see this thread is under, so again I will go under the one and under the next, and under the one and under the one you hit, and the next under. And you will have to nurse it a little where you came up. That could be a little, yeah. You can see you can always pull a little in the thread, but you can always nurse it. So again, this is the one I am under now, so again, under the two, under the two. So you always go under the one you already are under, and you keep doing that all array around until you, here now I'm at the first round, and then you can push it a little down there, and then you just keep on and on and on. And it can take a little time, and I should perhaps have taken a longer thread, but we will see. The smaller your circles you have, the more, the less spokes you need. But I think you at least should have 6 spokes, and on the big one I'm having there, I think I will probably do 10. And this is why I want my spokes to be quite even, because they have to be the same amount of space left when you're all the way around, as many times as you have to fill them out. So I don't hope you get dizzy. I'm nearly dizzy. But you can also say you will just keep on until you don't have more thread left, or if it is the size that you think look nice. That is up to you how big you will make them. But the last rounds can be a little crowded, perhaps. I can see this leg here is perhaps a little longer than the other legs, but it looks a little like a spider web, you can say. And, it is a funny way to make a stitch like this. I can see I'm getting close to the spokes here, so and I think thread-wise it ends up nice. There. There. So you can see it. It looks nice. I perhaps think I can go for one more round and then I will see there isn't any more room, or my thread is run out. And you don't need a variegated thread as I have here. If you had choose a color that is different from the circles. Yeah, now it is a little crowded there. And I think it is important you remember to take the end of your needle so you're not poking in anything. There. And it isn't centered very much or very good, I can see. So that could be a reason for sewing them first and then cut the circles out. But now I have chosen to do it this way, so that's the way I will do it. So I will just let my thread go down here and secure it on the back side. And that is the first little woven or whipped circle. I will do another one. So you can see I made only 6 spokes here, and I have come up a little before this spoke here. So it is just starting the weaving under the 2 there, under the one where the thread is, and the next one, and with the end of my needle. And I've been a little wiser since last time, so the last one I made, so I will pull this through here, and I drag a little more in the thread, and then it is just going out. Ouch! That was just the point of my needle in my finger, and yeah, there it is. And under, and you will have to turn a lot of times here because it's such a small one. Under, 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 under 2. And I will just, I think this would go a little faster because this isn't so big. If you like it, you can stop so you can see some of the spokes, the legs there. That is up to you if you think that look nice. So I'm nearly there again. So I will just make the last round, and I will just put my needle down where I think it, for instance, if it was there, I will just go around and go down. So I think I will make the one with the 10 spokes after this, and I can start it up and you can see how it looks with 10 spokes. So here are 10 peaks, and I finally got them to sit quite even as even in the length as I could, and I think that is the most difficult part. So I will just come up here, and I've taken a good long thread there. So again, take the other end of my needle, go under 2, and under the one I am under already, and the next one. And you can see I have some pen marks here, but they would be covered up here in a second. And they are a little crowded here in the middle at the beginning. So under these two, and under these two, but I think you got it now, so I will just continue. Sometimes you have done it so lot, so you get quite dizzy, and you will have to stop and say, oh, where am I? And okay, that I'm here. That is the way I'm going to do it. But it is quite simple when I will just take my finger and press that in there. I think I've been all the way around here in a sec. Yeah, I think I have press that down there. But I will make this 10-spoke spider, and I can show it to you, and then I will just make the last ones out of camera. I think you got it now. Okay, so done with all these spider webs here, and I have tried to look on the big internet to see if there is a name for this stitch, and the closest I can get is perhaps it is called whipped woven circles. Og på dansk hedder de cirkler med kastesting. So this is what I think I will call them here. But I will also think you can find it in embroidery books. But now I have also showed it to you. And I couldn't help myself. I just had to make a small black one there. Yeah. If I should do this another time, perhaps I would practice a little more. I haven't done this stitch before, and I can see there's a little clumsy something there, but yeah, it is what it is. But the more I made, the better they ended up looking, and the last ones I think they look quite nice. And in the beginning I didn't stitch the spokes in the same hole, and I think it is perhaps better if you can manage to get all the threads in the same hole, like an eyelet stitch, because then your middle will perhaps get a little nicer. But yeah, perhaps just a matter of taste. But I have written the rules here in my book, and I can pull you up a little closer, and I have taken a photo. So now we are going to the tricky parts here. If I can find the end of this tape here, it is double-sided tape, but of course you can, as I have said it many times before, you can also sew it in your book if you want to, and especially if you have a lot of pages in your book, so you can have a embroidery, only one embroidery on a single page, so there isn't nothing on the back side. But I don't have so many pages in my book, so I have to glue it down, and so that's why I use double-sided tape. But it isn't a must to have a book like I'm having. You can put them in a box, so you can put them in a embroider them on a scroll or an old sheet or buy a sketchbook, or yeah, you can do whatever you will. And now I have to struggle with this, and it is the same, and I think it's because it's this heavy wool fabric. I will do it off camera, but as I said, you can do with them whatever you want to do, but not so far out here in the future, where you will have 52 small embroideries to look at and to get inspired by. And I really hope you will use this book or these small samples here as inspiration when you're not know what to do. Look in all your samples and perhaps set some dogma rules for yourself. You can mix the ones I have made, and you can make your own or using other kinds of fabrics. There are so many ways, but when you are looking through here, you can say, oh, I want to combine the French knot with this coral knot stitches here. I think it was coral knot. No, I can't remember now. No, coral knots, that's right. And do something with that, and so you have a lot of inspiration. Now, I will fix this and glue it in my book. Now it's sitting there, but I was so close to get an hysterical moment. I really hate this tape sometimes, but it works so well when it's sitting there, so all is fine now. And doesn't this spread look lovely? I really like when my spreads are looking nice together, but you don't have to do it that way, of course, and especially not if you're not putting your samples or your small embroideries in a book. But I will take some close-ups at the end of the video. I really hope you find inspiration in my videos, and you get the urge to try to do this challenge. And it is not too late, even though we are so far here in the year. You can always start here and work ahead with us, or you can go back and start with week number 1, or do the weeks you like most. You can do whatever you will, but I would really like to see what you're doing if you're participating in this challenge. And I do respect you who doesn't want to be on Facebook or in the Facebook group. I know it's not always the easiest thing or the nicest thing to be on Facebook, but the group works very well, and everybody are so nice to each other, so there's no trouble there. So perhaps you can just be a member of Facebook and just be a member of the group, and don't look at all the other crazy stuff that's going on there. But you can also go on Instagram if you want that instead, and use the 2 hashtags I have written here below also. But I think you should jump into it and participate and do some lovely embroideries. But again, I will say, I really hope you have been inspired and you have learned some tips and tricks here in this video. And if you have, please give my video a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing my little Danish channel. That would be very helpful of you, and I would appreciate it a lot. So, and also I will say, please take care, be creative, and also be nice to each other. That's the best we can do in these crazy times the world are right now. So please be nice to each other. So I will just say bye for now, and see you next week again. Hej.